I'm Jason Jorgensen. It is once again time for the Loper Football Show. We're joined by UNK head coach Ryan Held. Loper's coming off a tough road trip to 17th ranked Pittsburg State last week as the Lopers fell 23-6. Ryan, we talked a little bit after the game, and kind of a frustrating one, although you guys played hard, but you've had a couple of days to digest it. Now, what's your overall takeaway from Saturday?
Well, defensively, we obviously played well enough to win. They gave up 16 points. And then, you take away the offsides on the first drive, they would have had to have punted. So they played definitely well enough for us to win. They played better than they did against Washburn. They bounced back and, did a nice job. Offensively, obviously, abysmal, not good enough. I have to point the thumb, and we looked at it, and at the end of the day, we just didn't. We would do something good, and then we would take a step back. And against a team like Pitt State, you can't do that. We'd get a first down, we get the ball to the 50-yard line, then we get intentional grounding, or we get a holding, or just a play that wasn't successful for us. We were 1 of 13 or 12 on third down. The last 2 years against Pitt State, I think we're 2 of 25. Just absolutely horrendous. And, so you just can't do that. It just wasn't good enough. Special teams, we got turnover and we scored on special teams. I think it was, we had the field goal blocked. We got blown up on the right side. And even in that sequence, Jason, it was 10-0 and we were driving. We took 7 minutes off the clock. That would have made it 10-3. And, but at the end of the day, you got to tip your hat to Pitt State. They played well in defense against us, well enough on offense. And, without Isaiah, we have to kind of tweak some things and figure out, what we want to do, even though I think we have really good running backs, within the arsenal. We got to throw the ball better. Those are things. And, we had 8 penalties again. It's kind of sneaking up on us. Like, you don't feel that we're a bad penalized team, but those things have definitely hurt us.
In terms of the passing game and the offense as a whole, do you feel guys were getting beat, or was it an execution thing? Where's that kind of stand this week going into Missouri Western?
Well, listen, I get praise when there's praise due, and then we all have to. I point the thumb at myself. Coaches, we got to be better. But, the offensive line up to last week had done a really nice job. That was definitely their worst game, for sure. And, you got to tip Pitt State some to that. But we also were, just kind of doing things out of character for us. So I know they were disappointed, and there was just, little things we were supposed to crack on the first play of the game. Well, now we have 2 guys on the corner instead of a guy going to the safety. Well, that would have been a 15-yard gain. Instead, it was a 5-yard gain. And then we end up having, 3rd and 3, we stepped the wrong way and they slanted and tackled the running back. We just did a little bit of uncharacteristic things. The Fort Hays game, we didn't score many points, but I felt we were right there. We just had some bad executional things. We just didn't play well on Saturday offensively.
All right, it's homecoming this Saturday. You have 1 game this month at home, which is crazy.
Can you imagine that, Jason? 1 game.
Yeah, 1 game. So, what's your thoughts on Missouri Western?
Well, my first year, they beat us on a walk-off field goal. Last year, we beat them on a walk-off field goal. They're really good on rush defense. They're hard to run the ball against. And, their head coach is an offensive-minded guy. He does a really nice job. You can't look at their record because they're better than their record. And so they're a very, very capable MIAA team. They have good football players. And so we know we're going to have a 4-quarter game. And the thing about this league is you have to flush it when it's good, flush it when it's bad, and you have to move on. But we're excited to play at home, sleep in our own beds. There should be a really nice crowd, should be a really good weather. Thank goodness at this point. You never know in October and the Midwest, but we got to go back out on the practice field and get back to some technique and fundamental things. Just keep getting better because we have a lot of season left, and this is a very important game for us.
A shocking loss for Missouri Western at home to Emporia State. Anything to glean from that? Of course, playing Emporia is different because of what they do, but I guess I was just kind of surprised to see that game go the way it did in St. Joe.
Well, look at that, Jason. Look at UCLA beating Penn State.
Yeah.
UCLA, the worst team in the country, and they had Neuheisel's son as the OC 2 days before the game, and they beat the seventh or whatever rank they were and highest paid defensive coordinator. That's why this game. That's why they put the games on the schedule. You're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. Sometimes when things snowball and don't go well, it can get out of hand on you. Emporia State definitely always is trending upwards on offense. They figured it out a little bit on defense, switched it up. They went back to their odd stuff, and it really helped them because they had gone to even the last 2 weeks. And so those kids were tired of hearing about, how they couldn't be good on defense. Well, they went out there and had a chip on their shoulder and played well. So that's what we got to do this week. And, we're going to get a Missouri Western team that's agitated because they're not happy. We're not happy. So it's going to probably be two teams, Jason, that are going to be happy on Saturday and want to get a win.
All right. Ryan, as always, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
You bet. That was Loper football coach Ryan Held. Once again, it's homecoming on Saturday in Kearney. Seems like it's been a while since the Lopers have played at home. Again, they won't be back until early November. Love to see you out there. If you're not, we'll bring you the game on 93.1 The River and 106.9 in Kearney with kickoff at 2. For Coach Held and for our producer, John Willis, this is Jason Jorgensen saying so long.